and we're going to get started on our markers unleashed from charting to automation. I know many of you have been asking me to get together with Pablo and do something together so you guys can see, how you could automate, not just order flow, but, any other charts that you have, any other sort of signals that you use. And, I'm not sure if some of you are familiar with markers already. I know some of you guys use it and you want to know better ways to use it. And hopefully today you'll see how easy it is to use markers. It's got a lot of flexibility. It's not necessarily just about taking a like an indicator and plugging it into markers. You could actually do other things with markers. And just a heads up, if you got any questions, be sure to put them in the chat. And I'll try my best to get to them today. I'm going to try and keep this around just under an hour. I don't want to keep you guys on all day long. I mean, we got another call tomorrow in our group, as well as Friday, and depending on sort of the feedback that I get, I might just have a special call, not including Pablo, either over the weekend or maybe on Monday as well, to sort of go over your questions. All right, so again, just a brief disclaimer. Obviously, we're all adults here in the room. Trading involves risk, right? And only risk capital should be used for trading. So again, automated trading comes in many different shapes and forms, right? Simply put, automated trading means you use software or algorithms to execute trades. It's funny because I see a lot of people talk about, the algorithm out there, like there's some big mysterious algorithm, but it's really just a term, fancy term for computerized trading. And you use it to execute your trades on your behalf, based on your predefined rules and conditions. What it does is it sort of frees you up from sitting at your computer, manually clicking buy and sell, right? The system does it for you when certain criteria are met. I have certain criteria. It's not just, excuse me, about order flow conditions being met. I always talk about follow through order flow, right? Where there's order flow coming in that sort of gives credence to what you're seeing in the order flow. That's what I call follow-up order flow. So, you might be a good fit for automated trading if, one, you have a tested strategy. I'm sorry, I'm just coughing all of a sudden. Because, when it comes to automated trading, I don't necessarily recommend it for everybody, but, there are sort of offshoots, what I call semi-automatic. Where you're going to be able to manage a trade. But, at the start of it, you need a strategy, right? You need to have a system in place, so to speak. And I like using the term system because, that's sort of a derogatory term in trading, because you hear people say, I've got a system, right? I'm going to sell you a system. And it's not really about a system, but rather a strategy on trading. And, a good strategy becomes more consistent. The bad strategy doesn't. Bad strategies lose money. So if you already have rules that work when you trade manually, automation can help you execute them more consistently. Because that's a problem that I see with traders is, maybe they got a method of trading and it just can't, they can't turn it around. They're still losing money, but it's like, you know what, I'm back testing this and it's making money. I just wish I had a way I could automate this to take the trades for me. And that's something that markers can do. The second part is, maybe you struggle with emotional discipline, right? You find yourself holding losers too long, hoping they'll bounce back, or selling winners too early out of fear. Automated systems don't have emotions, right? You always say, everyone says, I've got no emotions when it comes to trading. Well, really, a computer has no emotions. Humans have emotions, even people that say they have no emotions. The computer will follow the rules every single time. For many traders, this emotional removal is game changing. It's just something that all traders struggle with, right? Being able to put their emotions in check. And it's something that doesn't come easy. It takes a lot of training as a trader, a lot of developing as a trader to remove your emotions. And the easiest way to do it is have an automation in place that takes the trades for you, okay? Or maybe that gets out of the trades for you. because that's where traders struggle. And it's not just in trading that emotions get in the way. Sports, relationships, once emotions take over, things veer off to the side, and it's usually not pretty, right? We've all seen, athletes lose their emotions. Football players throw their helmet, soccer player kick the ball out of play, tennis player break their racket, and the same thing with traders. You lose your emotion. You I don't want to say people punch the screen, but definitely traders have their own um, case of emotions on a way to handle bad trades. And automation, either fully automated or even semi-automated, helps you with that emotional discipline. Maybe you can't watch the markets constantly. Maybe you have a full-time job or you trade international markets in different time zones, right? Um, I always get messages from people saying, "Hey, how can I got a full-time job. Can I trade?" Well, of course you can. There's markets that trade at night. There's markets that trade, basically 24 hours. And, if you work a 9 to 5, maybe you wake up at 5 in the morning and you could get a couple hours trading before you got to get ready to go to work. Um, Being automated means you never miss an opportunity because you're in a meeting or asleep. Now, again, that's fully automated. I know there are traders out there that like to have things fully automated. I take it a little step back. Again, I talk about semi-automated, meaning, I still like to sit in front of the computer and watch the trade as it's developing. Automated trading may be good for you if you trade multiple strategies or markets simultaneously. Humans, you can only focus on one or two things at once, right? We all like to think we're great multitaskers, but at the end of the day, when you start spreading yourself too thin, things start falling through the cracks. Trades get missed, and an automated system can monitor dozens of opportunities across different assets at the same time. So, you could be looking at Japanese yen as well as, well, not literally looking at, but you could, have automate a system trading Japanese yen and one that's trading copper, right, or nat gas. So you could have, or even crypto to a certain extent. Maybe you value back testing and data, right? If you're analytical and want to test your ideas against historical data before risking real money, automation platforms include powerful back testing tools, and you could do that with markers, right? You can run, sort of historical testing to see how well your system did. Okay, and you know, I know a question that comes up a lot is, stress on your PC. Now, everybody's got different PC specs, right? Some have the latest ones, others have, something that's maybe a couple of years old, and I know there's some that have some that are, going back to 2016, 2017, 2018, right? They're still using those older computers, and with order flow indicators. Generally, I like to use tick replay. Pablo will show you, you can use markers without tick replay. I mean, you could test it, test your system, and then just run forward without tick replay being run, right? Tick replay for an indicator like, say, imbalancer is so that you can plot the historical instances of the indicator appearing. But if you go forward, right, you don't necessarily need to have tick replay going on as the signals will appear. All right, so that can help speed up your, basically, I don't say speed up your trading, but rather not lighten up the load, so to speak, on your um, computer, on your trading computer. Now, just really briefly, there's two different ways to use automated trading: fully automated, trade entry and exit; partially automated, which is why I prefer trade entry, and you manage the trade and decide when to exit. I mean, you're still going to have your ATM in there, right? Your take profit and your stop loss. But again, I'm a big believer in watching the order flow, being an order flow trader, that if things change in the order flow, I want to get out. I don't need to get stopped out to get out of a trade. If things change, I'll get out early, right? It's simple. So again, if you're hands-on, you could use markers as semi-automated. I mean, you can still get out of a trade at any point, right? So let me ask you, would you rather get stopped out at your full amount or stopped out at half, or just be happy to scratch the trade? And that's the difference between automated trading and semi-automated trading. And to me, this is an important topic because there are traders that's the way they think, is like, the trade is either going to go to my target or I'm going to get stopped out. Why? You don't need to put yourself in that position. Just let, if you're reading the order flow and things change, you get out, take a profit, take a smaller loss. Doesn't have to go to there's going to be plenty of opportunity at another time. Okay. And before I turn it over to Pablo, just really quick, right? Remember, with automation, you need to identify the setups first, right? I mean, you have to have a solid trade strategy for getting into a trade as well as getting out of a trade. Okay, you can't tell the system to do nothing, right? It needs rules. Okay, so it needs a reason to buy or sell. For example, maybe delta increasing by a certain percentage over X number of bars. You need to give it something tangible so that you can give it the rules, right? I mean, you have to have an idea already. You could use markers to back test it. I don't think we'll have time to get into that today, but when I'm going to do a follow-up to show you how to set up markers, how to download the data, run it back on historical data to sort of test out what you want to do. But for now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it over to Pablo and let him show you guys how you can use markers for your trading. So Pablo, I'm going to turn it over to you and I'm going to mute myself.
Test. Where can I show my screen?
Okay, looks good. I see your screen. Whoops.
But which one?
Oh, there we go. This one says the indicator store. Yeah.
Okay, this is the correct one.
Right.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Mike. Thank you for your invite. And let me start by presenting me. For those who don't know, I am Pablo from the Indicator Store. One of my products is Markers, a tool that lets you automate any signal and also create your own signals. No, but let's start by one of the common questions. Okay, you have an order flow signal, like this is the order flows toolbox, no? And you can see I only have one indicator. You need to remember the settings of your indicator because you need to copy an instance of the same indicator into markers. Because the usual way, no, to automate the signal is, okay, no problem. I go to marker copy, I choose a name. For example, I am going to copy the long signals, longs. And then on input series, I select the indicator, order flows toolbox. So, okay, I select the indicator. And then I select all the corresponding parameters, because if I don't set the same parameters, then they are not going to match. I remember that what I have is I really don't remember. Sorry, let me check. It was you send me those settings. Enable thin prints with a 3 and a 1. And there was also another thing selected, this one, the POC. So on the copy, I select the same parameters. Thin prints with a 3 and a 1. And the other was open POC with a 25. Okay. Now the indicator that we want to copy works at each tick, I guess. Something that we always need to check. If what I copy is working at each tick, then I need to copy at each tick. And just for checking, I want to show a signal that it should overlap. Okay, so maybe I made a mistake on the parameters. So what I copy is not what I see. So let's add a cyan big dot. Okay, when I click on OK, this chart is it has tick replay, so you know it takes some time. Then you need to have tick replay. So we need to wait. Okay, and there you have it. This the signal of the indicator and the copied signal, and you can see that they match. Now to do the same for the shorts, an easy way to avoid any problem, because you know there are a lot of parameters, so they need to be the same. So you can select, right click and copy, click on another place, right click and paste. So now we have two instances of the same marker copy copying the same signal. So I save some time by not needing to set all the parameters, but of course I need to change the name and also change the plot. So step number one, I can change the label here. Instead of markers copy, this is the longs, okay? Just for visual. The most important is the variable longs. And I am going to use this as a fast signal, okay? Then the other instance, the most important is the name of the variable, shorts, okay? This is a fast signal, okay? Also, the visual part, instead of marker copy, shorts. And we can see we get an update. But the most important, what I copy is already set. All the parameters were already set because I did the copy and paste, but I need to change to the other plot, cell signal, okay? And also we can change the color of the dot. It should match with those triangles. So let's use gold. Okay. Now we need to wait again because now we have the classic order flows, the copied version of the longs, and the copied version of the shorts. That means we are calculating 3 times the usual time that it takes to calculate this. Now we can see the order flow has calculated. Now we have the long signal and the short signal. Now we are ready. Usually, when you are copying an indicator that don't require tick replay, this is fast. So now we can add markers on this chart. But on this case, my suggestion, if you have an indicator like this, is add another chart, a new chart, same instrument, in this case is Standard & Poor's, any time frame, it doesn't care, it doesn't matter, because it is just for execution. So on this chart, I execute the orders, but this chart has no tick replay. Okay, so it is a quick chart. It has a fast response. And what I want to do is add markers where I want to automate the fast signals that I created on this chart. The names were longs and shorts. Okay, very simple. The variables are global. So this is the reason because you cannot use the same variable on another chart. Now you need to select an ATM, your preferred ATM, click on the ATM button, select an account. You can see that it is not valid because the SIM account is not present on this feed. I am connected to playback, okay? So click on the account, and now it is ready. It is ready to execute all the longs, all the shorts in fully automatic mode. Fully automatic means all the signals are executed. If you, for example, looking at the picture, if you want to go long because we may have a possible double bottom, then I only want the following long, so I select semi-automatic. That means if I have a short signal, it will be ignored because the short button is off. If I get a long signal, it will be executed using this ATM, and the button will turn off because this is semi-automatic. Okay, and this chart is really fast. I can even configure a filter. For example, let's say I want to filter those signals, all these signals, with, I don't know, the slope of a line. That's very, I don't want to make the video too long, but you can enable a filter, and also you can enable exit conditions, okay? Now I can continue adding more because this chart is slow, but I don't need to edit that chart. I only need to edit this, adding more and more things, like for example, filter conditions, other signals. Let me show you now on the step number 1. This is what we did recently. Okay, the copied signals, and here the execution. This chart has a tick replay, this chart no. Now if I continue, okay, now I have two charts with different setups, and the two charts are using tick replay. So if I touch anything on this chart, we need to wait for it to calculate not only the indicator, but also the copied version of the longs and the copied version of the short. Remember, 3 times the usual time that you need. But you don't need to touch this chart anymore or this chart anymore. You can work on this one. Now you may say, okay, how can you separate or distinguish which is the signal for each one, which are the order flows and which are the delta scalper? This chart is the delta scalper. Very simple. When you copy a signal, if you are not using different names, for example, I am using longs, and on the other chart I was also using longs. Just use a different link ID, okay? And now on these markers, I have the order flows using 1, looking at longs and shorts, and the delta scalper using 2, also looking at longs and shorts, okay? And each one is using a different ATM, okay? It can be a different or not account, that's your decision. Each one may or not have filters, extra conditions. For example, a classic is I want this signal at no more than 5 bars than this other signal. We can do all on this chart. And we can continue. Here we have the 3 setups that Mike shared with me: the order flows volume shift, the order flows toolbox, and the delta scalper. All of them are doing a copy of the long and the short signal with the same name. The only difference is the link ID. Okay? Here The link ID, I guess it is 3. No? Yes, 3. And the names are always longs and shorts. So I have full control over the main chart, where you can see it is not taking anything to calculate because it is just a standard chart. I have the name for each one of the templates, and also maybe we want to backtest what I have here. The only problem is the time it takes to calculate the historical. Okay, but no problem. Let's do an example. I'm going to close all the other workspace. So having the minimum of workspace and also the minimum of charts is a good idea to speed up the process, because currently I only need this chart for execution and these 3 charts to calculate each one of the signals. Okay, I don't need the other workspace. And I guess this one is empty. Yes, nothing here. Okay. Now, here is a tip that you can use. Let's say that you are on playback and you want to replay all that we see on today's chart at maximum speed. Something that you can do is right-clicking on your playback toolbar. I am assuming that you have already downloaded the replay data and you are ready to play. That means the data feed is working, okay? Now you can select play the current day, and now you can see it is selected, and then go to and select the current day and the current time where I am now. I am at 4:30. So I want to reach to the exact same place as we are right now, but playing back everything. All these settings, okay? So I can click on OK. That means it needs to reload the data on these 3 charts, and we can see how it is doing. We can see that this chart is ready, the chart without the tick replay. This also is ready. This is also ready. Now we are waiting for this one. And when the charts are ready, then we need to wait for the calculation. You can see that all of them are calculating, and this has not started yet. Okay. Okay, if my computer crashes, don't worry, I will create a video and share with all of you. Usually, I play back only one setup at a time, so maybe I am going too far from this, because we are playing back 3 really complicated trade setups all together. Okay, now we can see the 3 charts are ready, and now we need to calculate the 3 of them. Okay, we can see this indicator is ready, not the copy. Okay, we need the copy to finish, and on the other 2 charts, everything is waiting. By the way, this only happens on tick replay charts at a refresh, not on real time. Okay, on real time, there is no, the tick replay is not used on real time. So it only happens when you edit something, because all the historical needs to be recalculated. In the meantime, you have time to set the correct settings, no? If you want to execute all the longs, all the shorts, because this chart is ready to be used. Okay, now we can see that the dots are ready. So this chart is no longer waiting. Okay, so chart number 1 has the indicator, the copy of the longs, the copy of the shorts. Now we need the other two. Sorry for the delay. I was not expecting this to be so slow. Okay, it is ready, and we can see all okay, it finished. Okay, as you can see, the real-time execution is fast. The only problem is to wait the historical. Now your question is, okay, which one works better or not? Well, we can see here on the main chart the last trade and the daily trade. No, all the three setups were working fine, and also you can open a trade performance. Here we can see the net result, and you can filter. And the importance is if you use a different ATM for each setup, then you can filter by ATM. For example, this one at the top, let's leave only one, the 10 versus 20, 10 contracts versus 20. It made 375. I guess it is this one, the volume shift. Okay. Now, if I select the second, then this is the best, the order flow toolbox. Okay. And then the third one, it was all winners, 350. 350 is this one, the Delta Scalper. If you want a detail, you can look at the trades, individual trades, one by one. And you can see all of them were winners. Instead, this one was one loser. And here, it had only one loser. Very useful. Anyway, I suggest doing one by one because maybe you notice something that maybe you can increase the target, use a different trailing. Instead, if you try all together, it's a mess. By the way, you saw it is more or less not so complicated, but it takes some time. Okay, so I have ready to use templates, so you don't need to do all of this. I have templates for the three setups in this format. Okay, you only need two charts, one for the indicator, another for the execution, and on the execution chart you have the option to add extra conditions, like, for example, filtering by time, by volume, by the slope of a line, by whatever you want, okay? If you want more info about me, I can say that we have a live YouTube, so you can see all my templates, not order flow templates. This may be something that I may include in the future. But currently, you can see my best templates working live all days. This is the URL of my YouTube. Also, you can access my free chat room. This is the link to my chat room. Very simple, TIS chat. And this is my chat room, where I was today commenting that the order flow was about to begin. You can contact me here. My info is this, and here is my email. I don't know if there is any question because I don't see the questions, Mike, but I am done.
Yeah, there's let me see here. There are some questions. I'm just looking at them right now. Let me So just scroll back up to the top here. Just give me a sec. There's a question from George. Can you adjust when the trade is entered, like on bar close, or does it automatically trigger once triggered? So let's see. Okay, I think the question is, can you adjust when the trade is entered? I mean, if you're talking about your, yeah, once you're into the trade, you can move your take profit and your stop. Um, that you can do. I know that. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I understand the question. The idea is what I explained today is at each tick. So really, I don't know at which moment those signals are painted. If the signals are painted in the middle of the bar, they are executed at the middle of the bar. Okay.
Yeah.
If you don't want to do that, you have the option to wait for the bar close. And also, there are some signals, I don't know if this is the case, but there are some signals that they are painted and deleted, painted and deleted. In that case, maybe you want to wait for the bar to close and check if the signal is still present, and then enter at bar close. This is also possible.
Yeah, right. It's actually that's one of the things that when I first started using markers is before, like with a lot of our order flow tools, we have what we call the trade entry signal, which would wait until the signal bar is closed and you have the follow through order flow before the signal prints. And once it prints, it won't disappear. If you're not using what we call the trade entry signal, and the signal appears as the bar is still trading, it can appear, disappear, appear, disappear. Then once the bar closes, it is there. With markers, right? That was one of the things that, because I've been with markers for a long time now, and I wanted a system or a tool that would help me enter into a trade. Like I'd have a signal on, this was years ago, like for example, Delta Scalper, before we used the trade entry signal, where okay, I got the signal, but I want to wait for the bar to close and the next bar or two to open and move in that direction, and then get me into the trade. So yeah, you can do that with markers. So let's see here. I got there's another question that's unrelated from Chris about can you, okay, you needs a new, let me see here. Sorry here, I'm just reading these questions. Okay, Chris, yeah, I'll reset your ID. He's asking, how do we filter Delta Scalper, for example, with MACD? That one, Valentine, let me see, I'm just writing this down. I'm probably gonna do a follow-up to this presentation because I wanted to see what some of these questions are so that I could either make a video or do it live for you guys. Because he's asking, how do you use filter Delta Scalper, for example, using another indicator? I'm going to save that one for later. There's another question from Mata, asks, how many filters can be used at once in one chart, Pablo?
It is unlimited.
Okay.
Because the filter is something like, let me show you, because I am not using filters here. But if I enable a filter, enable filters, I can say, okay, the close is greater than the open, and also the volume on the current bar is greater than 1000. And also this or that, etc. Yeah, you can write all the string that you want using all the copied variable from all the charts. So it is unlimited.
Okay. Okay. Yolanda is asking about how to get the templates that you mentioned there for like Delta Scalper Toolbox.
Contact me to my email.
Okay.
My email is pablo@theindicatorstore.com.
All right. Let me just, I'm going to put that in the chat there for you guys here.
Pablo@theindicatorstore.com.
Okay. Okay, Mata says he means like going back to the filter or the filter question. Where is it? Can we use something like VWAP as a filter or like a 200 period EMA?
Anything, and you can use. Let me show you something very simple, so you have an idea. Let's say I want to look at the direction of a line. For example, let's say, I don't know, let me copy a line. I need to copy whatever I want to use, no? So I am going to copy, I don't know, my HMA. My preferred HMA is an HMA 200, maybe. HMA 200, okay? And let me draw it in color red. In a thick line. Okay? So now I have this line. You can say, okay, I want to go long. You can see that there are several trays executed there. But maybe I want to filter when the line is going up, or also when the price is over the line. You have several options. No? Option number one, I want to execute longs only, for example, for the delta scalper. No? On the delta scalper, I enable the filter, and I want to, this is a default filter. But for example, I want the close of the current bar greater than the HMA on the current bar for longs, no? The close is an internal variable, is the price on the current bar, and the HMA is the variable that I copied here, HMA. Okay? So I want, okay, the close over the HMA, and for the shorts, the close below the HMA. Okay? Now you can see filter is on, and I have a weight. It means you need to, let me advance so it can calculate. Okay, HMA 0 not found. Okay, because HMA was copied with a different link ID. This is a classic mistake. The delta scalper is using the link ID number 2, and I copied with the link ID number 1. So I need to use the same link ID. Okay. Now, longs are disabled because the line is going down, and also the price is below the. So only shorts are enabled because the close is below the line. Another possible option is I want to look at the slope of the line. If the line is going up, I want, how can I know if a line is going up? Let me show you the two options. You can use a logic where I need to use the same link ID, and the close is greater than the HMA when this is true. Okay, this histogram is showing when the close is greater than the HMA, but take a look at this part. The slope of the HMA is going down. So how can I know the slope of the HMA? Another logic. Which is the formula for knowing if a line is going up or down? Same link ID. The HMA on the current bar is greater than the HMA one bar ago. It means it is going up. Okay? Now, this is the place where this line is going up. That means I can use this logic as a filter, okay, on delta scalper. Instead of this, I can use this for longs and the opposite for shorts, okay? In the same way, I can copy the MACD, and I can say, okay, for longs, I want the MACD greater than something, or for shorts, I want the MACD less than something. And you can also do a complex, like for example, I want the MACD greater than something, and also that the HMA is going up, and also that the price is over the HMA, etc. Make sense?
Yeah, it's pretty flexible. I mean, you could add, sort of as many rules as you want, and filters. That's the whole point of having something automated, because if it's not automated, you can miss it if you're watching the screen manually. So it has a lot of flexibility on what you can do, rather than just have an indicator and say take all longs, take all shorts. You could even take it a step further, like he's just showing you there with the HMA. Only take shorts when price is below the HMA, or only take longs when you're above the HMA, which sort of gets into like what you're asking there with the 200 EMA. But yeah, I mean, you can combine them. You could have different different rules, I guess. I mean, I know there's some people say, oh, somebody one time was trying to sell a system where it's like you just trade when price is below the 50, the 25, the 50, the 100, the 200 EMA. It's something like that you could easily automate with markers. Let me see here. There's another question. Trying to find it here. Okay, we did that one. Got the templates one. Okay, well, George asked, this is sort of an unrelated question to markers. What's the difference between all these order flow indicators? Well, they just read different, like Delta Scalper reads certain things in the delta, vol shift reads volume and volatility. Toolbox is a bit like the Orderflows Trader without the footprint chart. It'll give you the signals. It allows you to combine, um, sort of the different nuances of order flow. Actually, back in March of this year, I believe it was, Pablo and we did a presentation on using markers with the toolbox. It's a great combination, because with toolbox, which differs from say Orderflows Trader, which is the footprint chart, on Orderflows Trader on the footprint chart, it'll show you, like, say, when you have a thin print and when you have a open point of control, like he just showed you on this toolbox chart. With Orderflows Trader, it's just going to identify when that appears, when the thin print appears, as well as when the open point of control appears. But if you just have a thin print, it's still going to signal it. If you have just an open point of control but no thin print, it's going to signal it. Whereas the toolbox sort of combines them, and it will only show you signals where you have a thin print plus the open point of control. Okay, so the toolbox sort of takes the Orderflows Trader a step further and allows you to combine sort of the different tools from the Orderflows Trader to generate a trade signal. And then what you do is you use markers. Once you sort of have your setup, you could use markers to even, well, to trade it for you. But like I said, you could even refine it a bit further. If you're using something like a VWAP tool, or you're using any other tool that you want to use as a filter, you could add that in. Okay. Let's go dig through a couple more questions. So now there are only 2 indicators, Delta Scalper, and others 9 more. No, we still have them, but obviously there's a time limitation. Actually what my plan is, my goal is to sort of build out a template database for anyone that has Delta Scalper, anyone that has vol shift, so they could have a sort of a ready-made template. The only thing that sort of keeps me back from creating a database like that is because I don't want traders coming in thinking that, oh, this is the only setup, this is the only way to use it, right? With my indicators, everyone trades different market, different chart type. I know a lot of traders now are moving on to RV charts, etc. And I don't want it to become, well, Mike says you have to use a Delta Scalper on a 1-minute chart in this. No, you really want to expand it, but at least by having a template, it's something to build a starting point from. Okay, but definitely don't think that that when you get a template for an indicator, that's the only one that you have to use. I always say you got to find the way to use the tools that suits your own trading, right? Because like I said, everyone looks at different markets, everyone looks at different time frames or chart types, um, range-based chart or time-based chart or tick-based chart or volume-based chart. There's so many different charts available that sometimes it's hard for me to have templates to cover every single different chart type, right? It's just not possible. You know, simply because there's just, it's just, I don't want to say it's unlimited, but it's a lot. But anyway, that's something that I plan to build out over the next few months, is sort of a template database. And there are people out there that do sell templates actually for markers already predefined. Johnny asks, will this seminar be recorded? Yeah, you'll have access to this, so you could watch it again. Okay, Yolanda. Yolanda's asking for more exit examples if you have time. Well, Yolanda, I'm gonna write down your question. I'm gonna cover that again. I'm gonna do a follow-up with this. Don't necessarily need Pablo on there for that, but I'll show you how I use it in terms of exiting and stuff like that. So George asks, do you have a list of commands and their meanings, such as close, bracket, zero, bracket, or high? You have like I don't want to say a glossary or something like that for those? I'm not sure.
Yes, it is everything on the chat room. We
Okay.
have an online manual with all the commands, and also we have tech support on the chat room.
Okay. Yeah, he's got like a Discord chat that you guys could go in and join and ask questions as well. Philip says, yeah, the real recording, Philip. Mata asks, what happens if I lose internet connection? Well, obviously, if you lose internet connection, your chart's not going to be updated. What will happen to markers, Pablo? Will it just stop?
My suggestion is try to have a VPS.
Yeah.
What I was showing on my live YouTube, you can watch it all days. It is working on a VPS.
Right. Yeah. That's a good suggestion, especially for traders that have sort of unstable connections, or even if they travel. It's something that sort of solves a lot of problems, a lot of headaches, because you could log into the VPS, from anywhere in the world. You don't have to worry about your connection to the broker or to the exchange, because it's generally, these VPS servers actually sit pretty close to the actual exchange server. So they're pretty reliable and a bit faster, especially if you're trading automation. You want to have as low latency as possible, and having a
And
VPS.
also, in my opinion, the importance of the isolation of your trading with your computer. Imagine that currently my trading is working on a VPS, so I can use this computer for this presentation and nothing happens. Okay.
Right. Yeah. And sometimes it's almost like the setup of the VPS is probably better than some of our computers at home that we're running NinjaTrader on. And it seems slow, and you get on a VPS that's got better specs than your PC. It's just going to run faster. Let's see here. I'm just looking at the question. Do you have? Well, Mata asks about targets for target ticks and gold, 6E, and crude. We'll talk about that when I do a follow up on this, because that's kind of a specific question. And again, targets are based off of the chart you're trading, sort of the time frame that you're looking at, et cetera. I mean, some traders have very tight targets, some have very wide targets, as well as stops. So, but anyway, guys, I'm going to wrap it up because it's coming up on 1 hour already. I don't want to keep you guys on all day. It's Wednesday, and I'm sure I know a few of you guys have to pick up your kids at school. So again, automation is a tool. It's not magic, right? It amplifies what you give it. Good strategy plus automation equals consistent results. No strategy plus automation equals consistent losses. I always recommend start small, scale thoughtfully. Don't automate everything all at once. Start with one, right? Prove it works, then expand. Stay involved. This isn't set and forget, especially, when you're just getting started. Now, I know there are some traders that use markers. They will go to sleep. They have faith in things being executed. And hey, more power to them. I know that, I have seen firms, I've had friends that worked for, legitimate HFTs where the HFT blew up and, it lost millions of dollars. Everyone had to get laid off and everything. That's why I'm always a big believer in staying involved. Don't just, oh, this is set and forget. I'm going to set it and go watch, a movie for 5 hours or binge on Netflix. Keep in mind, your money's at risk. You kind of want to manage it. Successful automated trading requires monitoring, learning, and adaptation. Now, Pablo and myself, well, I got a deal from Pablo, so I'm going to give you guys an opportunity to get markers at a discount, right? Normally Pablo sells them for $450 a license. Give it to you today. Oh, sorry, he sells it for $600. Give it to you today for $450. So that's a nice discount, like what, 25% or something. Go to this link, strategictraders.com/markers, right? It's not my order flows one, it's the strategic traders. I'll put it in the chat. I'll send you guys the link out later with the replay as well, because I know it's something, a presentation like this, you do want to watch again, so you could fully appreciate what markers is able to do, because really this is where not the future is, but being able to automate your trading system, right? Because people always ask me, what's your favorite trade setup? Well, I have several, right? And being able to automate them helps manage what's taking place in the market, right? Because at the end of the day, right, you've seen me, I've done live trading workshops, et cetera, and generally I'll watch one or two markets. With you have markers, right? You could have a screen like what Pablo live streams every day. He's got, I don't know how many different markets you're showing on there, like 9 or 12 different markets. With markers, you're able to do that, right? You can have multiple markets open. You just have markers running on each market. Then you don't have to worry about missing the trade, because markers is already programmed to take the trade based on your set of rules. Okay, then once it gets into the trade, obviously you're going to hear it. NinjaTrader obviously makes the sound, so that you can just watch the trade, manage it from there. So it gives you the ability to monitor and trade different markets. Okay. So anyway, guys, I'll wrap it up. Later tonight, once the replay gets rendered, I'll send you guys the replay and the link for the special deal. And again, I'm going to do a follow-up one, because there's some of these questions it's literally kind of specific. I think me making a video or doing an additional session, could help you understand more. And going through the actual setup from scratch is really simple. Once you get it, anytime you use a new software, there is a learning curve. There's just no way around it, right? Because you're just not familiar with the software and how to set it up. And I'll probably do a session. I'm thinking of Monday, where I could sort of hold you guys by the hand and show you, as I do it live, how to set it up. All right. So thanks everyone for coming out. Thanks, Pablo, again for your time. I really appreciate it. And traders, I think if you haven't got markers yet, it's something you definitely need in your toolbox. So thanks everyone for coming out. And again, thanks, Pablo, for your time today. So have a great rest of your day, everyone.
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.